Hey everyone, welcome back. Fresh contender in the shop, taking a break from Cosmo Land for a little bit, and going to show you how I repair this nasty quarter on this R100. So let's get to it. Alrighty, a fresh one. So I have most of these pieces hanging up on my wall, and if it was only probably 2 weeks earlier I wouldn't have cut the front off and hung it on my wall. Same as the rear. The rear is really crumpled, and it has supplied a cut, so can use the top half of this, remake the lower, hopefully join in somewhere just behind the fuel flap, somewhere accessible. But pretty clean car, only a little bit of rust here and there, but otherwise really clean. Thankfully, the piston car that I cut up has a mint rail, so I've got this side that always rots out on the rotary powered ones because the battery's on the opposite side. So on the piston one, it rots this rail out, so it is good that you can actually use the piston car for something. And I think I've got the cuts for the front half of the sills and stuff like that, so not too much to do on it, maybe 2 weeks or so, but it's yeah, it's all pretty decent. A good starting point, that's for sure. So I think I'll start things off. I'll remake this lower so that I have it, and then I'll start unpicking all the layers. Now I'm going to reuse this section of the taillight bucket, and I'll use this upper boot corner because the one on the car is pretty rotted. So yeah, I'm hoping to keep this edge alone, underside one alone, and I'll join up through the top of the rail there. Otherwise leave the boot edge alone completely and I'll join just under it. Not sure how I'm going to go about it just yet, but I'm going to want to unpick all this neatly, straighten all this taillight section and stuff back out. It's all still good. It's just yeah, this area that's not savable after someone's already had a good go at it. It is savable, yes, if you wanted to spend the time. It's definitely repairable, but it's not economically repairable. I've got a cut here, so it makes no sense to even attempt repairing this. It's just easier to just cut and shot one. So just simple paper template, just to know where I'm at, really. It's lucky that it is still semi-complete, I can tell where things are. So to transfer it to steel, I just put magnets on, get my perimeter marked out, trim that, and then I've got to flip it obviously and magnet to it again, and then use razor blade to do all the little inner folds. Now that way they're transferred through once you lift the paper off, and you can then trace them again with a pen or texter. Okay, so now you just flopped it over with the tape and you trace over your razor blade cuts from the other side, and then you've got marks on both sides because sometimes you can get into a corner where you've got folds on this side and you've got folds going the other way, so it's just best to just mark it all on the sheet while you've got the template on it, and that way you can't get stuck. There's no going back to remark shit. The only one that's going to vary is when I shrink this corner as to where the flange is going to end up, so I'll shrink the piece first, get it the same shape, and then I'll draw that back onto it. Before I start wheeling some shape into this panel, I just want to trace over this pen line just with the tipping die so it's faintly there, just in case I rub it off. I've got to sand this rust off a little bit before I put it through a wheel as well, and I don't want to be remarking it 100 times. Alrighty, so I got my snakes, chucked it in the wheel for a few passes, just to get a rough shape on it, and as you can see we've got to wrap this corner around. So we're going to put it in the thumbnail dies and shrink this corner so that it start pulling down, and then we can start worrying about tipping this extra flange here. Alright, so I've done a few passes with the thumbnail shrinks and came along with the plunging hammer, 24 radius, and it's let me wrap it around the corner. So now I've got to add this flange onto it so that I can actually sit it in place. I have it marked both sides. I've got that inner marked for here, and I've got the outer marked on the outside edge here. So I'll do that now. Okay, so that's roughed out now. It's fitting alright. Just a bit to play with on the top edge. Okay, so that's pretty much done now. A few little areas to address in the center here, but other than that, fitting pretty decently. And then yeah, we'll chop this off here. Probably going to go along up through there. So yeah, with this pretty much at that point ready to join on, I'm going to unpick the quarter off the car so I can have a gaze. I want to see how much repairs are needed on the inners, which I'm assuming is a fair bit, but to get access to those I need the quarter off. So with that out of the way, I can dress all the taillight section and stuff back up and then work out where I'm going to join. I think I'm just going to do across and keep the existing fuel flap on the other piece, and then yeah, join back from about here, go somewhere around there. I can reach into there, so it is opposite hand, so it's opposite swing for me, but it should be alright. Okay, so I'm going to unpick this area here, try and keep this and the taillight, the inner taillight section attached to it. So I'm going to dress up all this area here that's all dented in, and the surface is pretty, how you going, it's got a few dents and marks and stuff in it, so a little bit of tidying up, but should be able to go right on the edge of this up, and same here, should be able to come across somewhere like that. That way we can keep the factory hem join here, all that stays factory, and then I'll join under this little support here, try and not disturb as much as I can. Alrighty, so I just got a few tacks just to hold this lower on while I unpick the rest of this taillight bucket section and stuff around there. And I won't go too much further with that until I've got it sitting on the car, make sure it's all pulled in the right direction. I'll get it all clamped to the car and then I'll weld this up so it doesn't want to try and pull around and yeah, carry on me. Alrighty, so with the quarter out of the way, I can dress up all this lip and taillight bucket area. It's all crumpled in and not happy. Tidy all that up, and it lets me have a good look at the inner, which is obviously in a sad state as well. I've done the old lap tack special on the inner wheel arch, so to remake that as well. But at least I've got access to where it needs to be now, and you know, to straighten all this taillight section out and unpick this as well. Okay, so unpick this top boot support, boot floor, so I'm going to have to repair this top layer of the boot floor, remake the inner lower quarter and the inner wheel arch as well. So yeah, pretty messy under there, so you don't leave things like this. It might look fine under the epoxy, but yeah, I already know things are hiding under there. And this is exactly what I see in my head when I read the words all rust cut out and plated. This is exactly the work I expect to see. Templated magnets and paper, show me all my flanges and folds. Okay, so there's my piece to make. The pen mark is my fold lines and the texture is just a perimeter to cut. So let's get to it, trim it to shape first and start tipping to flanges. So I just give it a few whacks with the mullets to start the shape off on the bag. Just use the hammer just to smooth all those whacks out a bit before I start tipping my flange. And just bead roller, tip the flange. Multiple passes. And then we're going to do the top one. Okay, so it's nearly there. Just got to do this mark here and this little fade off here. So I'm close, but yeah, I want a bit more. Add those details in and we should be good. Okay, so that's all sorted now. Added the details for the edges. Fitting good. So now I've got to remake the inner wheel arch and this boot floor section as well. Luckily, I've already made this piece because this shares the same bead as the Cosmo. So I had a win there. And just for anyone thinking, there's no need to put the bloody step in there, it's been overkill. Well, it actually spots on into the step, so it is needed. It's not just a cosmetic thing. I've got to remake the edge of this boot floor now, and had a win because I've already made this die set. It shares the same bead as the Cosmo, so that's awesome that I've already made those dies for that. I can make this section pretty quickly, just chuck them in the Pullmax and off I go. And just looking at this floor, my linear guide system would actually make quick work of this floor. It'd actually be really rewarding to remake the whole floor if I had one. But obviously I'm not going to do that because I don't need to. So Okay, so clamped on with the inner. I'm just going off. And I just have to tweak the bottom of it once the quarter's actually on. Righty, so first overlapping fit, just cutting piece by piece until I get a real snug fit. So fitting everywhere pretty good, just for sitting there and over the top. Pretty happy with that. Naturally resting with no clamps, just sitting over the top. So that is awesome. I should be able to cut before my join to the donor and lose that completely, so there'll just be my fresh panel and this to join. But yeah, really happy with that. So I'm going to clamp it all in place and then zap this lower to the donor so it doesn't walk away and stuff on me on the bench, and then I can start trimming it back to see it really fit in the right spot. But really happy with that. 2 days progress, and got literally all the panels made to repair this whole section, so that's awesome. Got the inners all ready to go on, so once this is all repaired, got a little bit of tidy ups and stuff to do there. Once this is all ready to go on, I'll pull it back off and do piece by piece of all the inners, and then should be good. Should come out pretty nice, I hope. Alrighty, back into it. Monday morning, slipped off that little inner wheel arch, got rid of that, unpicked the inner quarter, so I'll keep that for future reference. Might need to remake one of them in the future, so I'll keep that. And now I'm just dressing up the boot floor, get it back to straight so that I can put a replacement piece on. That way I've got access both sides for that TIG join, get that all nice, it's in the right spot, and then I can put the new lower quarter on that I've made, and I'll put the wheelarch on last after the outer quarter is on and I know it's all in the right spot. Otherwise could make a mess there and weld it in the right spot, wrong spot, and it's cocked, and it just makes it a nightmare. So with the quarter, because it's got stretched damage here, it's actually pulling inwards, got a lot of tension there. I'm even thinking of just trimming along a little bit, so I've got a cut that comes to about here, but I don't really want to go along there, and then come back to here. So I'm thinking about just coming along, just keeping it nice and round, and then going along there, just to get rid of all this stretch damage here. So I'd like to go a bit further along. Okay, so tacked in place, just all MIG tacks, and this is where you're almost tempted to be like, should I just MIG it? And I'm like, nah, you can't. It's just harder to grind the weld down, just turns into a mess. So drag the TIG over and zap it up. So all zapped together, and as you can see, it's created a BMX pump track there from the shrinking on the welding distortion, so I'll have to sort that out. Alright, so this is just 36 on the little roll lock, and just buzzed down and then just planished flat, as flat as I could get it. So now I've got to change to the 80 on this, buzz it again, just get rid of all the extra little bits of material that are there, and then I should planish it one more time and it should be sweet. And that's with the 80, so gets it a bit nicer, and you planish it again, and then you can see the bottom side. So to me that's good enough for a boot floor, and it's going to get a another piece spotted over the top as well, back on this side. Just returns down, just hugs tighter to the quarter there, protects the single edge here. So I'm just going to hit that with the whizzer now, just 80 on the whizzer, and buzz that area up. Okay, so that's all whizzed up, and just use the little belt sander to get up into these little spots up in here. So if there's any imperfections, you'll see them on this channel. No photos from 10 meters away and light tricks and bullshit like that. You just own all your fuck ups and all your issues. No point hiding them, you're only lying to yourself. And this is the piece that goes back on top, so that goes about here somewhere. Just got to recreate that, put it back on. Okay, now I have the inner quarter clamped in place. I've just got to pull that tab down just a smidge, just to get the little crease out of it there, but I've got to bolt through the top spot hole, which is here, and all seems to be fitting up pretty well. So I'll be marking and drilling all my plugs that have to be done, and all the plugs along this edge here, But other than that, should be pretty good. I'm just going to put probably 2 screws or something in it that's just flush mounted out of the way, probably just here, just so I can sit the outer quarter back on and make sure it's all in the right spot, and then getting the inner wheel arch in the right spot as well. Try and get all some reference holes and stuff. No point welding this in fully and then this is like cocked inwards, or it's just it's not worth the risk. Alrighty, so quarter sitting back just over the top, and just added a few more tacks just along here so that I can plunge it up and it's fitting nice. And it tells me that this inner needs to come up a smidge, so I've just got to tighten that top flange up. You can see the gap between the floor. It tells me it's got to come up a touch just to let it meet the edges properly. So yeah, I'll pull this off, punish up all these little tacks, and then hopefully this quarter section's sorted. I've got a crease to sort out here and a few little lumps and bumps. Hopefully I can attack that while it's off the car. I've got a little tear to sort up here, the very edge. But yeah, so I'll get those welds sorted now. So same process as before, just knock all my lumps down and then planish it, get it fitting nice, happy with it both sides. And then one big zap end to end, and then planish that back down, stretch the weld back out to get rid of the shrink, and then should just hit it with the 80 from there on. It should be pretty good to just hit with the 80. Maybe some areas might need a 36 just to knock a bit down, just where I've got bigger gaps compared to how tight everywhere else is. Hit with the 80 on the roll-off, just to knock all the welds down after planishing it. So now I'm ready to zap it. I was going to weld it on the car, but I think I'll just do it on the bench. It's more comfortable. I'll just stand up and zap it end to end. Alrighty, so just MIG wire as filler, and then 30 to 34 amps on this. Alright, so pretty ugly. Obviously I haven't done down this edge here, but yeah, a few stop and starts on there. I didn't really intend on welding this piece. I was going to join up through here. So yeah, pretty much just finished this little bit now, and then I'll get to knocking the top off it. Gloves get pretty hot when they actually worn through. Idiot. So I've just got the dolly upside down, so I've got the flat side on the rubber mat, and I'm just hitting with a concave face hammer. So I just hit the weld as much as I can, just to stretch that weld back out. And now I'll buzz the top of it off. Little grinder, this little fella. Don't expect this area to come out any good at all, because I was never going to actually use that area. So it was a big gap, so I don't really expect to see it come out nicely. I'm assuming I'm still going to chop where I want it to chop off, but we'll see. Now let's hit with the 80 on the roll-off, so just to get the surface a bit flatter and nicer. So now I can go along with the 80 probably on the whizzer, just to bring the surface up so it's not scratchy like that. Let's see what we're working with, and then just bump up all the conflicting areas, which will be around this area here. It's just really sucked in there on the corner, and just a tiny few lows here and there. Hopefully it'll come up alright. Even this join might come up okay. I say might because I'm not too hopeful on that one. Right, now after hitting it with the 80 on the whizzer, you can see all the imperfections start to show up. Try and go to the other one. Doesn't like focusing well on this. But you can see all the little imperfections that we've got to pull up now. Especially in this bottom corner where I said where it sucked inwards. to go along and bump all those areas up now, and it should get better and better from this point on. And to bring this little areas up here, it's got the dolly underneath, and this could use a slapper as well, but it's just because it's so tight on this area rather than the small surface area of this hammer. So with the slapper using the big thing, there's not really much to gain there, so I'm hoping to get it with the hammer. What I found is you're not hitting directly down, you're trying to sort of swipe it to sort of stretch it outwards instead of like dinging inwards. Yeah, tedious process, and probably why most don't do it, they just load it up with bulk. So now I'll use the slapper with this dolly underneath. Pretty good now. Just going to give it a run over with a block or a file just to see any further imperfections in it. Either whatever you want to use for it, more suited for like something that's less flat, small little area. I'll probably use something like this where I could just interlock it. So it shows up all these little lows. Anything shiny here is low and needs to be stretched out a bit further to bring it up to the surface. So it's either back to hammer and dolly or back to hammer and slapper, whatever you prefer. It's a little heavy to be hitting a tiny joint like this. That's about as good as I'm going to get it. I can push and push and push further and further, but it's just going to be more wasted time really. There's no need to go any further than this primer will fill that. We're not building an elite show car here that's going to sit in bare metal, it's just a driver. So I want it to be nice, but not crazy. Lose 200 hours in just this kind of thing. I pretty much have the joint area sorted, but I've got a little bit of 50-cent coining line marks here, so I want to give a wash over, change the radius die into the punishing hammer and give that a wash. Just sitting back over the top just to see where this inner lower quarter needs to be, and work out where I'm going to join from. Joint didn't come up too bad, come up alright, but I just feel like it's silly to have a join there and a join there, so I think I probably will chop through and just probably come forward a smidge. It's just a lot of stretched metal in that area, so I'd probably like to go forward as far as I can. A bit weird having like a circle shape there instead of a straight, but yeah, it's what it might need. So here's where my joint's going to be now. It's going to be here, squiggly through. Lost the joint that I put onto this quarter, just got rid of it. So yeah, I'm just waiting for him to bring the boot lid over today so I can make sure the boot gap and the quarter gap is 100% before the quarter goes on for the last time. So I'll probably end up putting the quarter on maybe tomorrow for the last time. I'm just going to do the repairs needed on the corner, finish off the floor, get the inner welded in fully, and yeah, once that's in, get the inner arch, put that in, should be good to go. It's just a lot of stress on this area here before it. Once, because it got hit in the back, it wanted to pull right in. So hopefully once I trim a bit more off, it relieves all the stretched metal that's on there. So that's the plugs done for the inner. I've just got 2 more to do on the very inside now. So I've just got the quarter sitting back in place with the boot lid, no hinges, just sitting loosely. And as you can see, the quarter's got to come in a fair bit because this taillight section was so stretched when it got crashed into. When they pulled it out, it's become longer, so I've got to tighten this edge up to let the quarter pull tighter to the boot lid. And geez, hasn't the sandblaster made an absolute mess of this car? Look at the Rio, where he's stretched it. This thing is so wobbly. Poor thing. This is why sandblasters really need to know what they're doing when they blast cars, because they just do so much damage to them. Same as the roof. The roof is absolutely a mess from the sandblaster, which sucks because it's probably was a good panel, but after they're done with it, it becomes a beach. Okay, so the quarter is hung back on. I've pushed it, I've tightened this up to let the gap be correct for the boot lid. And yeah, this area here is a mess as well, so they've made a mess all around on this car. So I'll be replacing the edge of that quarter, but the boot lid itself, it's hard to get it in the light. I have to put it on the ground for you to see it. It's absolutely beyond repair. They have stretched the living hell out of it. You can see all the braces the whole way, where they've just turned the pressure right up and blasted against the braces. So I'm pretty much thinking I'm just going to make a whole new skin for the boot lid. We also brought a good door, another boot lid which is pretty rubbish as well. It's very sad state, but still straighter than the other one, and the original spare wheel. And man, I can't believe there's no pressings or anything in this. I actually really want to try and make one of these, because this is in average condition and costing 500 bucks. So it's a very simple shape. I think with a lot of shrink we'll probably get that. So yeah, we have to address all this crudeness and see how the taillight section actually ends up at the end, because it's so stretched and carried on. I might even be making the whole thing end to end, because the beaver's pretty sad as well, so we'll see. But I just want the quarter panel back in the original spot, and then we can worry about cosmetics like that. Alrighty, so I've got the quarter sitting in a spot that I'm happy with, and I've got it marked now just with a pen, just around where I want to join to. It does look a little funky. I'm not going straight, but it's, yeah, the metal is just stretched a bit too much there on the end, and it still needs to come out just a smidge here where it's really wrapping inwards. So once I weld it, I should be able to pop that area back out. So once it comes off for the next time, I'm going to drill all the plugs for this and get this inner wheel arch fitting. So I've got to get that in there first before I can sit the quarter back on. So I'll play with that now. So the inner's ready to go on now, so just giving it a prime, sit it on there, and join it up through here. Okay, so quarter sitting back on top there, my inner's tacked in a few spots, ready to do these plugs, and the bottom will lift right up to it. So as soon as they meet, we'll be able to trim all this edge back. This doesn't actually exist on there, it's not that big. For the other side, it's better to have too much material there, but it actually tapers off into nothing. So I've just got one screw that holds and locates my quarter, and then we're off. So there's my inner tacked in place in a few spots. Just gave it my check over, obviously. I'll just weld this up now. Right, so that blend's done there. Just done my plugs on the very inside. I don't know if you can see them, I have to go around the other side. So those plugs up there for that. These. And yeah, it's all good, so it's ready to trim down now. Trim this edge down to suit once the quarter's back on. So ready to prime all these overlapping areas now, drill all the plugs through here and prime the inner, ready for the outer to sit on top. And because the spots are already popped off on this wheel arch, I might pry it back, get rid of the junk sealer that's going to be in this area, and then prime that area there, because I know the sealer is just going to go when I weld through there, so no need for that. It's frustrating that there is dents and shit already in that area, but it's okay, I hope, because I can reach in here and access this area. Hold the dolly with my left hand, swing with my right, so it'll be natural. I shouldn't have to go opposite swing like I thought, so I'm happy with that. And its edges are beginning to be wrought up, so little trim bit by bit until it fits nice. And I'm going to drill all my little plugs for the bottom. I didn't do it off the car because I knew it had to be cut shorter and radius right off, so I didn't want to put the plugs in the wrong spot. So weld through on all the overlapping areas, and I'll epoxy anything else that's bare. So same with this, all the overlapping areas I've got weld through on them, and yeah, epoxy for the rest. Okay, so I got some tacks, hold it all together. Beaver is pretty tight, except here, went a little big. So I've started doing my little fig stitches along. I'm not going one big zap like my conventional method usually is, because I'm just, I don't know, it's so thin, I'm scared that it will just suck right in. I won't be able to control it. So I'm just doing bit by bit, then I'll buzz these off. I'll plunge that back out to stretch the weld back out, and hopefully get control of it, because yeah, I really don't want to risk doing one big zap and it just turns into a mess for me. Alrighty, so pretty much welded now. I did a few little stitches along, left this area, I did here as one big pass, and then this is another pass, so start there, and hopefully I've got it under control now. Feels pretty good, so stretch these welds back out, buzz it down, and hope for the best. Alrighty, top half is welded, all the plugs through there, got the joints through there, done my plugs in the fuel flap area, got this weld sorted. Now I'm just onto the plugs along the bottom side, and then I'll trim this lip up to suit, and then I'll come inside to all these plugs up here. I'll just leave the garnish at the moment because we might be remaking this. Just don't know if I'm happy to leave all this stretched junk on there. The bar will cover it, but I'm going to ask him what he wants to do there. Be nicer to tidy it up. So bottom plug's done and trimmed the lip to suit. So that's all sorted under there. And yeah, leaving the beaver not attached just yet. So I've just got those 3 little plugs to do up in there, just grind the heads of those off, and that's sorted. So I'll clean up this chaos and evaluate what's next. And that's the quarter sorted. So the quarter's back in the right spot. Well, the bottom side is all tied together, inner wheel arch is in, inner quarter is sorted. Pretty much ready to tie the garnish and taillight section into it now. That top section's all on. I just want to tidy up this lip here, sort out what chaos is going on there, but at the same time I'd rather make the boot lid skin. That way we know we've got a good boot lid, make the gaps all nice either side, and then figure out what's going on with this, if we're going to keep it, repair it, or make a new one. So yeah, I'll get the creases and stuff knocked out of here. There's a few dents and wax and stuff to sort out while we're in that vicinity, but that's all I'll have time for this week on this car. I'm going to chuck the wheel back on it. I've got to bring something else in and get started on that. So I'll catch you guys next time when I'm making the boot lid skin for this car. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you then.